The interstellar research facility on Delphinus 4 had been Jack Turner's home for the past 3 years. A seasoned exobiologist, he specialized in alien ecosystems, which made him a valuable asset to the UES Horizons team. Today, like every other day, Jack was out in the violet forests cataloging flora when his communication device beeped. A message from his colleague, Dr. Alan Harris. "Alan, Jack, you've got to see this. We've detected some unusual activity in Sector 9. Jack adjusted his backpack and responded, "On my way, Alan. What are we looking at?" Alan, "Not sure yet, but it looks like some kind of bioluminescent response in the plants, outside normal patterns." Jack made his way through the thick underbrush, his boots sinking slightly into the moist soil. The air was fragrant with the scent of nectar from the towering kelfa trees. When Jack arrived, Alan was already there, his eyes glued to his portable scanner. Alan was a physicist, less comfortable with the biological quirks of Delphinus 4, but always eager to learn. "Jack, what have you got?" "Alan, look at this." He handed Jack the scanner. As Jack examined the readings, a soft voice interrupted them. "I see the kelfa bloom has attracted human attention as well." Turning around, Jack found himself face to face with Lysara. Her skin shimmered subtly, a natural trait of her species, and her eyes sparkled with a curious light. Jack had read about the Nymphians, but meeting one was entirely different. "Jack, Lysara, right? From the delegation?" "Lysara, yes, I am studying human methods." "You are Jack Turner?" "Jack, that's me. And this is Dr. Alan Harris. What brings you here?" "Lysara, the kelfa. Its bloom is sacred to us. It's rare to see it react this way. May I?" She gestured to the scanner. "Alan, of course." He handed it over. Lysara studied the device with ease, her fingers moving deftly over the controls. "Your device is calibrated well, but you might notice more if you adjust for the bioluminescent spectrum." Jack watched, fascinated not only by her knowledge, but also by her graceful confidence. He adjusted the settings accordingly, and the data changed dramatically. "Jack, that's incredible. We've been trying to figure that out for weeks." Lysara, happy to assist. "Nymphians have a deep connection with kelfa. It responds to our presence." Alan, smiling, looked from Lysara to Jack. "Seems like you're out of a job, Jack." "Jack, or I just got the best consultant on the planet." Lysara laughed, a melodic sound that seemed in tune with the rustling leaves around them. "Lysara, I am here to learn, but sharing knowledge is a joy. Perhaps I could join you on your rounds, Jack? I can provide insights and learn your scientific methods." "Jack, that'd be great. We're studying the pollination process tomorrow." "Interested?" Lysara, "Very much." As the sun set behind the kelfa trees, casting long shadows over the forest, Jack, Alan, and Lysara made plans to meet the next morning. It was the beginning of what Jack felt was not just a professional collaboration, but the start of a unique friendship. Alan, clapping Jack on the shoulder, teased, "Look at you, making friends with aliens and breaking new scientific ground." Jack, watching Lysara walk back towards her group, couldn't help but feel that Delphinus 4 just got a little more interesting. The morning light filtered through the dense canopy of Delphinus 4 as Jack and Lysara prepared for their day of research. Alan had decided to join them, curious about the interaction between human science and Nymphian intuition. "Alan, so, what's on the agenda for today, Jack?" "Jack, we're tracking the pollination patterns of the gloxonite flowers. They're critical to this ecosystem, and I'm hoping Lysara can shed some light on some anomalies we've observed." Lysara, carrying a small kit of Nymphian instruments, nodded. "Gloxonite flowers react to environmental changes. Observing their pollination can reveal much about the health of our forest." As they walked through the forest, Jack pointed out various plants and their research markers to Lysara, who listened intently. "Jack, here's where we start. We've set up cameras and sensors around these flowers. We're monitoring which pollinators visit and the frequency of their visits." Lysara, in Nymphian culture, we observe through participation. "May I?" "Alan, how does that work? You join the pollinators?" Lysara, "In a way. We use these." She showed them a small device that looked like a delicate tiara. This allows us to sync with the biorhythms of the plants. Intrigued, Jack watched as Lysara placed the device on her head, closing her eyes. The area around the gloxonite flowers began to thrum with a gentle vibration. Jack, what are you sensing? Lysara, the flowers are distressed. There's a toxin in the soil not far from here. It's subtle but harmful. Alan, a toxin? We haven't picked up anything in our samples. Jack, could it be something our instruments aren't calibrated to detect? Lysara, possibly. Follow me. They traced Lysara's steps to a small stream. She took samples of the water and soil and handed them to Jack. Jack, we'll need to analyze these. Alan, think you can expedite the testing? Alan, I'm on it. Let's head back to the lab. At the lab, while Alan ran the samples through various spectrometers, Jack and Lysara organized the data they had collected. Jack, your approach is fascinating. It's like you're part of the ecosystem. Lysara, and aren't you? Humans often forget that they are not apart from nature, but a part of it. Jack, I guess working with you is going to change the way I view a lot of things. Lysara, and I hope to learn as much from you about your technologies and methods. When Alan returned, he looked both perplexed and excited. Alan, you were right, Lysara. There's a compound in the water. It's a pesticide, but not one we use. It must be from off-planet, possibly from illegal dumping. Jack, this is serious. We need to report it. Alan, and we will. But first, we should figure out the full extent of the contamination. Jack, agreed. Lysara, can you help us identify how far this spreads? Lysara, of course. Protecting this ecosystem is crucial. For the rest of the day, the three worked together, blending Nymphian techniques with human technology. They mapped out the affected area and planned a remediation strategy. As they packed up their equipment, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Jack, thanks for your help today, both of you. We've done good work. Alan, and we've learned a lot. This partnership could be beneficial for everyone. Lysara, I believe so. Understanding and cooperation are the seeds of progress. Walking back to the research station, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. Working with Lysara not only opened new avenues of research, but also began bridging the gap between two very different cultures. Back at the research station, Jack and Alan sorted through the day's data in the communal lab. The atmosphere was thick with the buzz of screens and the low murmur of researchers discussing their findings. Alan, Jack, the impact of this contamination might be bigger than we thought. We need to set up a wider surveillance net. Jack, I agree. We'll need more hands on this. Maybe get some of the engineering team involved? Just then, Dr. Miguel Santos, the head of the engineering team, walked over. His expertise in environmental systems made him the perfect addition. Miguel, heard you guys found something big. Need help setting up those sensors? Jack, yes, we're expanding the monitoring area. We need to install additional sensors upstream to track the spread. Miguel, consider it done. I'll draft a plan and get my team on it first thing tomorrow. The door to the lab swooshed open, and Lysara entered, her presence immediately softening the sterile feel of the room. Lysara, good evening, everyone. I've compiled some data from Nymphian records that might help with your analysis. Jack, accepting the data pad she offered, smiled appreciatively. Thanks, Lysara. This is going to be a huge help. As the others continued to discuss logistics, Jack and Lysara reviewed the Nymphian data together, their heads close, speaking in hushed tones. Lysara, it's fascinating how similar our goals are, yet how different our methods can be. Jack, I've learned a lot from you already. There's a harmony in the way you connect with nature. Their eyes met briefly, sparking a moment of unspoken connection. Jack quickly looked away, feeling a rush of emotion he hadn't anticipated. Alan, noticing the exchange, leaned in. Why don't we all take a break? Dinner at the mess hall? My treat. Miguel, sounds good. I could eat a horse. Lysara, is that another human expression? Alan, yeah, it just means he's very hungry. The group laughed as they made their way to the mess hall, but Jack felt a tug of uncertainty. His feelings for Lysara were complicating things. feelings he knew he should not be nurturing. During dinner, the conversation was light, filled with anecdotes from Miguel about engineering mishaps and Alan's tales from past expeditions. Lysara listened with genuine interest, occasionally sharing humorous insights from her own culture. As the meal wound down, Jack decided to walk Lysara back to her quarters. Jack, Lysara, about earlier in the lab? Lysara, yes, Jack? Jack, I just wanted to say that I'm really grateful for your help, and I really enjoy working with you. Lysara, I enjoy our work too, Jack. I feel comfortable with you. Their walk was quiet for a moment as they navigated the dimly lit path back to her quarters. Lysara, Jack, Nymphians value honesty very highly. May I be honest with you? Jack nervously. Of course. Lysara, I feel a connection with you. It's more than just professional. I don't know if it's appropriate to say this, but I needed you to know. Jack stopped walking, turning to face her, his heart racing. Lysara, I feel the same. But we have to be careful. Relationships between staff, especially with someone from another world. It's frowned upon. Lysara, I understand. We must consider our duties. Perhaps, for now, we should focus on our work. Jack, maybe that's best. They reached her door, and with a lingering look, Lysara entered her quarters, leaving Jack alone in the corridor, wrestling with his duty and the burgeoning feelings he could no longer deny. After several weeks of intensive research and environmental monitoring, the team had made significant progress in understanding the source and spread of the toxin. However, the late nights and extended field sessions began taking their toll on the team, particularly Jack and Lysara, who found their moments together both a solace and a source of unspoken tension. One evening, as they were calibrating some sensors in the lab, the air between them felt charged with an energy they both tried to ignore. Jack, Lysara, the adjustments you suggested for the spectral analysis have really paid off. We're seeing clearer results now. Lysara, I am pleased to hear that, Jack. It's all about finding the right balance. Their hands brushed as they passed equipment to each other, and the touch lingered longer than necessary. They exchanged a glance, the air thick with unspoken words. Lysara, Jack, it has been a rewarding experience working so closely with you. I find myself looking forward to our sessions. Jack, his voice low. Me too. We should be careful, though. Just then, Miguel burst into the room, his usual jovial self, carrying a stack of data pads. Miguel, hey, you too. Look what we've got. The latest scans from upstream are in. It looks like our cleanup efforts are working. Jack, that's great news, Miguel. Let's take a look. The three of them huddled around the data pads, discussing the implications of their findings. But as the evening wore on, Alan and a few others joined them for an impromptu celebration of their progress. Alan, I think this calls for a little celebration, don't you think? I'll grab us some drinks from the mess. Laughter and light conversation filled the room, and Jack found himself watching Lysara, who was animatedly explaining something to Miguel. As the group started to thin out, Jack decided to stay back to organize the lab. Lysara stayed too, helping him tidy up. Lysara, it's getting late. We should probably head back soon. Jack, yeah, just a few more things to put away. As they were putting the last items back on the shelves, Lysara suddenly swayed, nearly dropping a beaker. Jack caught her arm, steadying her. Jack, are you okay? Lysara, her voice a whisper. I'm just a bit dizzy. Maybe I haven't been resting enough. Jack, concerned, held her by the shoulders. You need to take care of yourself, Lysara. Come on, sit down for a moment. They sat side by side on a nearby bench. As they did, their hands found each other, and this time neither pulled away. Lysara, Jack, Before she could finish, Jack turned to her, his face inches from hers. The tension that had been building between them reached its peak. Jack, Lysara, I can't pretend anymore. He didn't finish his sentence. Instead, he leaned in, and their lips met in a kiss that was gentle at first, but quickly deepened with pent-up longing and affection. After a moment, they broke apart, breathless. Lysara, we shouldn't have done that. But Jack, I know, but I don't regret it. They sat in silence, holding hands, knowing that they had crossed a line they had tried so hard to avoid. Lasara, what do we do now? Jack, I don't know. But whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. They stood, and Lasara leaned into Jack, her head resting against his chest. Jack held her, feeling both the joy of the moment and the uncertainty of what was to come. As they left the lab, hand in hand, the quiet halls of the research station seemed to echo with the new possibilities that lay before them. The next morning, the research station buzzed with the usual activity, but for Jack and Lasara, everything felt different. They tried to focus on their tasks, maintaining a professional distance, but the memories of last night lingered vividly in their minds. Meanwhile, Dr. Alan Harris noticed the change in demeanor between Jack and Lasara. He decided to pull Jack aside for a private conversation in his office. Alan, Jack, can I speak with you for a moment? Jack, nodding, followed Alan into his office and sat down. Alan, I've noticed something different about you and Lasara. I know it's not my place to pry, but as your friend and supervisor, I'm concerned. You know the rules about fraternization, especially with delegates from other planets. Jack, I know, Alan, and I appreciate your concern. It's just, something happened. Alan, I thought as much. Look, Jack, you're a good scientist and a good man, but this could get complicated. Not just for you, but for the station and the mission. Jack, I understand. We didn't plan for any of this to happen. It just did. Before Alan could reply, Miguel burst into the office, his face flushed with urgency. Miguel, Alan, Jack, you need to see this. We've got a problem with the water purification system. Alan, what kind of problem? Miguel, it's being tampered with. Someone's been bypassing the security protocols. Jack, tampered? That could contaminate the entire supply. Let's go check it out. The three hurried to the water purification facility, where Lasara joined them, having heard the commotion. Lasara, is there anything I can do to help? Alan, examining the control panel. We need to figure out who accessed these controls last. Miguel, can you pull up the logs? Miguel, working on a nearby terminal. Yeah, I'm on it. Looks like the system was accessed late last night. As Miguel traced the access logs, the atmosphere grew tense. Jack felt Lasara's hand lightly touch his arm, a gesture of support. Miguel, got it. The system was accessed using a guest passcode. Lasara, it was under your credentials. Lasara, shocked. That's impossible. I didn't do this. I was with Jack all evening. Alan, are you sure? This is serious. We need to be absolutely sure of what happened. Jack, she's telling the truth, Alan. We were together. Someone else must have used her passcode. The revelation made everyone pause. The implication of their relationship was now secondary to a potential security breach. Miguel, I'll need to enhance the security on these systems. We can't afford another breach. Alan, agreed. Jack, Lasara, we'll need to discuss this further, but right now, let's focus on fixing this system and securing our station. The team worked together, with Miguel leading the technical troubleshooting and Lasara offering her insights into possible vulnerabilities in their security protocols. After several hours, the system was secured, and the immediate crisis was averted. Jack and Lasara stayed behind as the others left. Lasara, Jack, what will happen to us? Jack, I don't know, Lasara, but we'll face it together. We need to be open with Alan and the rest. It's the only way forward. Lasara, I agree. Whatever comes, I am glad to have you by my side. They shared a quiet moment, acknowledging the uncertainty of their future, but comforted by the strength of their bond. Jack, let's go speak to Alan. It's time we cleared the air. Hand in hand, they headed back to face whatever consequences awaited them, their resolve firm but their future uncertain. Jack and Lasara sat in Alan's office, side by side but under noticeably tense circumstances. Alan paced the room, his usually relaxed demeanor overshadowed by the weight of the situation. Miguel had joined as well, quietly observing, his usual humor replaced by a serious expression. Alan, Jack, Lasara, I want to be clear about what's at stake here. You both understand that this isn't just about a relationship, it's about protocol, trust, and diplomacy. We're representing humanity here, and any misstep can have serious consequences. Jack, I understand, Alan. We both do. This wasn't planned. Our connection. It just happened. Miguel, leaning forward. Look, Jack, I get it. You're both grown adults. But Alan's right. There are rules for a reason. And Lysara, as a delegate from Nympho, you must know how important this is to your own people. Lysara nodded, her gaze steady. Yes, I do. And that's why I intend to speak to my elders about this. They value honesty, and hiding this relationship would go against our principles. Alan exchanged a look with Miguel, then sighed. So, you're saying you want to take this relationship forward, despite the potential repercussions? Jack, squeezing Lysara's hand. Yes, Alan. We can't go on pretending it's just a casual connection. But we're willing to face the consequences. Alan paused, glancing from Jack to Lysara. If this gets back to Earth Command without proper context, you both know how it will look. You'll be jeopardizing your careers, your reputations. Lysara, I understand the risks, Alan. But in my culture, when we find a connection that transcends the physical world, we honor it. Jack and I have found something rare, and I believe it can be a positive example of unity, not division. Miguel, if that's your decision, then you'll need to prove it. Not just to Alan and me, but to both our societies. You're suggesting something bigger than just the two of you. Alan nodded in agreement. This won't be simple. Lysara, your elders might insist that you end this relationship. And Jack, you know the station administration could transfer you out, possibly end your position here altogether. Jack took a deep breath, steeling himself. I'm prepared for whatever happens. Lysara and we're committed to this. Alan leaned back, considering the situation carefully. All right, here's what we'll do. I'll give you time to contact the Nymphian Council, Lysara. They'll need to understand the full scope of this before making any decisions. Meanwhile, Jack, I'll do my best to speak to the administration and present this situation in a way that emphasizes the value of interspecies understanding. Miguel, smirking slightly, and we'll need a clear record of what you two have done here. Scientifically speaking, of course. They'll want proof that this collaboration has been productive, not just personal. Lysara couldn't help but smile, sensing Miguel's underlying support. Thank you, Miguel. I have extensive data on our research here, which I'll share openly. Alan looked at Jack, a hint of warmth breaking through his serious expression. You know, Jack, for what it's worth, I can see how this has been good for both of you. But we'll still need all hands on deck. Miguel, I'd like you to work with them to prepare these reports. Miguel, no problem. We'll present them with something that shows not just the results but the collaboration that made it possible. After setting up a plan for the coming days, the group disbanded. Miguel gave Jack a reassuring pat on the back, and Alan nodded, his gaze softer than before. When Jack and Lysara were finally alone in the corridor, he exhaled deeply. Well, that could have gone a lot worse. Lysara, I am relieved as well. Alan and Miguel may not fully understand, but they're willing to give us a chance. Jack, we'll need to show them, and everyone else, that what we have here matters. I'm not just talking about us, but about the work we're doing together. Lysara nodded. In Nymphian culture, our elders often test those who choose unconventional paths. They will likely ask me to undergo certain trials to prove my understanding of this relationship. Jack, trials? What kind of trials? Lysara, tests of commitment, of my knowledge of your world, of my willingness to sacrifice for this bond. They are symbolic, but deeply meaningful. If I succeed, it shows that our connection is worthy of their blessing. Jack took her hands, looking into her eyes with renewed determination. Then we'll do it. Whatever it takes, I'll be by your side. They shared a quiet moment, the intensity of their bond undeniable, yet shadowed by the weight of what lay ahead. Their relationship would not simply be a personal commitment, but a symbol of trust and cooperation between their worlds. Later that evening, Miguel met with Jack to go over their approach for the upcoming report. They worked late into the night, collaborating on data, analyzing results, and structuring a presentation that emphasized the value of their joint efforts. Miguel, you know Jack, You're lucky she feels the same way. This thing between you two, it's rare. Just make sure you don't lose sight of what you've got here, both the research and the relationship. Jack, thanks, Miguel. I know I'm lucky. I've never met anyone like her. Miguel raised an eyebrow, smirking. Well, if you mess this up, I'll never let you live it down. Jack laughed, appreciating Miguel's humor even in the midst of this complex situation. They finished the report around midnight, satisfied with the work they'd accomplished. The next morning, Jack and Lasara met with Alan to go over the final details. Alan reviewed their report, nodding approvingly as he read through their notes. Alan, this is thorough. Good work, both of you. And I'm glad to see you're prepared to face the consequences head-on. Not everyone would be willing to risk what you are. Jack, we're in this together, Alan. It's more than just a professional connection. Alan looked at Jack, a hint of respect in his eyes. I can see that. Well, I'll do what I can from my end. Just be ready. This won't be easy, and it might take more than just a well-prepared report to convince everyone. With Alan's guarded support and Miguel's encouragement, Jack and Lasara felt ready to take the next steps. They would face the Nymphian Council, the research station's administration, and their respective worlds. And for the first time, Jack realized just how much Lasara meant to him, not only as a partner in his work, but as someone who had transformed his life in ways he'd never anticipated. As they walked out of the meeting room, Jack took Lasara's hand, and she leaned close, her voice soft. No matter what happens, I am glad our paths crossed. Together, we will find a way forward. He squeezed her hand, feeling a quiet but determined strength within himself. Jack and Lasara arrived at the Nymphian Council's chambers early the next morning. The grand hall was filled with elders whose expressions held a mix of curiosity and reservation. Jack felt the weight of their gaze but stood firm beside Lasara, ready to defend their relationship. Elder Rayler, the council's leader, gestured for them to approach. His eyes were sharp, wise, and unyielding. Elder Rayler, Lasara, you bring a human before us with a bond that defies our traditions. Are you aware of the responsibility this brings? Lasara, I am, Elder. Jack and I share a connection that transcends custom. I believe it can bring mutual understanding between our worlds. Elder Nida, another elder, raised a skeptical eyebrow. And you, Jack, what is your purpose here? Is this merely an infatuation, or do you truly understand the weight of this bond? Jack, I understand, Elder Nida. My bond with Lasara isn't just about feelings. I've learned from her, from your world, and I'm ready to honor her culture and your expectations. The elders exchanged glances, their expressions difficult to read. Elder Rayler finally spoke again. Elder Rayler, very well. Lasara, you know our ways. You must prove the depth of your bond by undertaking the 3 trials of union. They are tests of commitment, understanding, and sacrifice. Lasara nodded confidently. I am ready, Elder. Elder Nida, looking to Jack, added, and you, human, will support her through these trials. If you falter, the bond will be broken, and your involvement here will end. Jack met her gaze with resolve. I won't falter. After the council session, Jack and Lasara returned to the outskirts of the Nymphian village, where Miguel had been waiting for them with Alan. Miguel, how'd it go in there? Jack, we have to undergo the Nymphian trials to prove our commitment. It's serious, but we're ready. Alan, well, you've got my support, Jack. We'll keep things steady on our end at the station, but focus on these trials. They'll be watching every move you make. Miguel, and if you need anything, moral support, a good pep talk, whatever, you know where to find me. Jack laughed, grateful for his friend's support, even in these unusual circumstances. He looked at Lasara, feeling the strength of their connection intensify. Jack, we're in this together, Lasara. Whatever these trials bring, we'll face them side by side. Lasara nodded, her eyes bright with determination. Together, Jack, we'll make our path, one step at a time. The 4 of them stood together, a quiet but unwavering group ready to face the unknown. The trials would begin soon, and Jack felt a mix of apprehension and anticipation. But as long as Lasara was by his side, he knew he could meet whatever challenges lay ahead. The final trial had been completed, and Jack and Lysara stood before the Nymphian Council once more. The elders looked on, their expressions softened by approval as Elder Rayler rose to address them. Elder Rayler, Lysara, and Jack, you have completed the trials, each demonstrating commitment, respect, and understanding. You have proven the strength of your bond. Therefore, we recognize this union. Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him, and he glanced at Lysara, who smiled, her eyes gleaming with happiness. Elder Nida, this union is not only between you but also a bridge between our worlds. Cherish it, nurture it, and let it grow. With the council's blessing, Jack and Lysara stepped forward, hand in hand, as the Nymphians around them celebrated with traditional songs and blessings. Miguel and Alan joined the small crowd, each clapping Jack on the back. Miguel, well, look at you, Mr. Interstellar Ambassador of Love. How does it feel? Jack, unreal. But also, exactly right. I wouldn't change a thing. Alan, you've done something rare, Jack. This isn't just a relationship. It's a new chapter for both our species. As the celebrations continued, Lysara took Jack's hand, leading him toward a quiet garden outside the council hall. They stood beneath the starry sky, breathing in the crisp night air, feeling both the thrill and calm of everything they had overcome. Lysara, Jack, this journey with you has been beyond anything I imagined. My people, my world, they all feel new to me, seeing them through your eyes, Jack, and I've learned so much from you, Lysara. Your culture, your ways. It's opened my mind in ways I can't explain. They shared a quiet moment, the depth of their bond needing no words. Jack wrapped his arms around Lysara, pulling her close, feeling the steady rhythm of her heart. Lysara, softly, Jack, I want to marry you. I want us to share everything, all that we have, in both our worlds. Jack's heart raced as he looked down at her, overwhelmed. You really mean that? Lysara, yes. I want to be with you, to have our lives bound in both our cultures. He didn't need to think twice. Then let's do it. Let's make this official, here and on Earth. We'll make it work. The two shared a kiss, their promises sealed beneath the stars of Delphinus 4. As they returned to the celebration, hand in hand, Jack felt a profound sense of purpose, knowing that their journey had only just begun. Together, they would navigate whatever came next, their love a testament to the power of understanding and unity between worlds. And as they joined their friends and the Nymphian people in celebration, Jack knew that, despite all the challenges, they had found something real and lasting, a bond that would carry them forward, one step at a time, into a future they would build together.